Oh, clock stop. It's right twice a day.
Okay. Right. Okay.
All right,
All right, then.
all right, we're calling this meeting to order October 23rd, and our first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This swearing here is not a problem, right? We're not gonna. Well, it would be. Like
Just don't fall.
They put those ends down, so we should get.
Okay, so let's approve our agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Diane. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion or additions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Addie. Motion carries. All right, next up, we are going to dismiss to executive session based on ORS 192.660, subsection I, to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body or public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. We are now in executive session.
And Addie, we will meet you at the other link.
Okay.
All right, we are reconvening from our executive session. We're now in public session. And up, we have items for information. And the first is out-of-state travel request from
Did you
John.
say hi to Addie?
Oh, Addie, can you hear us?
Yep,
All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank
and I
you.
made sure I X'd out of the other one, so.
Yes,
Good job.
great job.
Hello.
Hey, we were
you're
just
up.
talking about it. Good. We are excited to hear about your out-of-state travel. You are up.
This is Alan Colligle. Did I say it right? I've always struggled with that.
Hi, Ellen.
And I'm gonna let Alan tell you about this event.
So I auditioned for a band clinic in Seattle. And this year, I think, was stricter on who actually got in. And today I'm asking for permission for him to drive me out to Seattle for this event.
Oh, that's really exciting.
So in this event, there's 4 bands of roughly 200 people. There's people, big names coming from all over the area, like arrangers, directors,
Composers,
Composers, yeah.
university professors.
yeah, and they're all going to be there. And yeah, so I'm asking for permission for him to drive me out for this event.
It sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
So what grade are you in?
Sophomore.
Wow.
That's a good thing too.
That's very smart. It's usually juniors and seniors
Yeah,
that
I was
will
gonna
get
say,
accepted.
that's pretty good.
What
Yeah.
instrument do you play?
Very sax.
Wow.
What was it? Instrument?
Very
Very
sax.
I don't even know what the berry part of that is.
It's not a
D?
small.
Low. It's
Oh.
good. Big and low.
Got an extra pinky key to play the low A.
Of course, Adrian knows.
I play saxophone.
I
It's
would
as big
love-
as, it's as big as he is.
Thank you.
I would love to hear you play sometime. This sounds like a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
You have to use a concert.
Yes, absolutely. And so let's go ahead and put this to a motion. Do I hear a motion to approve Alan to be accompanied by John for the music?
So moved.
All right, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
And thank you. And any discussion?
I'm just excited. We really need to get the band back going.
Things are looking
This
good.
is the kind of thing that helps do that. When kids can see an opportunity that may exist for them in the future, the more kids get involved in it. Plus, you'll have a young person coming back as a junior who has even more experience.
Right, and hopefully next year we'll have at least a half a dozen asking.
That's
to go
right.
on the same trip. And if you show up at the Mahaffey Ranch at 1 o'clock on Saturday, you can hear Alan do a lot of jazz solos. With some other kids, so.
Nice.
So,
My dog's love
Yeah,
jazz too.
So you can hear him there, but he might have a tenor that day.
I was gonna say, is he in marching band, would you take the big one or you would?
So yeah, I'm in the pep band, so funk band, and jazz band. So I believe, so yeah, both 10 and Barry.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations.
Oh.
So let's go to a vote. David?
Aye.
Ari?
Aye.
Adrian?
Aye.
Addie?
I,
Diane?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Congratulations. Go have fun, and someday we'll be looking for your autograph. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, now we are up to our school data review. Who's up first?
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, principals, for joining us. We had a work session scheduled, and I asked the principals if they could come join us and let us know, give us a snapshot on how the beginning of the year is doing. So they're going to be sharing some of their preliminary data for the year and their goals that we've submitted as part of our Title I plan for the K through 6, and then the 7 through 12 will be sharing their goals. So just to give a board update, and then in February, we'll come back and we'll do a comprehensive data dive on all of the metrics in the strategic plan. So we're hoping we can start with elementary.
For sure.
I don't-
I think our presentation is up there, so take it away, Mrs. Davidson. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Well, we have some academic data to share with you guys tonight. You don't want to see any of the other data. It has been a really rough start to the school year.
We don't want to see the behavior.
You don't want to see that. You could come
I've seen it. I've seen
if you
it.
want. It's been really a very challenging start to our school year. And it sounds like it's that way for a lot of schools around the state, so let's talk data. So up there is our district K2 data at the beginning of the year, composite scores. Broken it down into grades, as you can see,
Kind of see.
kind of see. I don't know if you can make it.
K1,
bigger.
2.
Can you make that screen bigger?
Participants and go full screen. Oh, it's giving me some weirder.
So we started with a lot of technical issues in this meeting.
Right. There you go. Oh, there you go.
Everything else gets bigger.
Oh, no.
Can you hide the participants?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Guys,
I think if you click on the 3 dots, there'll be a grid view that you can change.
Full screen, yeah. There, oh, a little bigger.
And then there's another one too where you go to
Change
change
layout.
layout. And then you can put it to,
Spotlight, yeah, do the spotlight one. There you go.
There we go. Thanks, guys.
It's like we spent a year on Google Meet.
Uh-huh.
It's actually a lot easier, turns out. So obviously, our kindergarten numbers, we always start with a lot of red. But it's also, as Carly pointed out last week, our most pure data, right? They're untouched by our system. Looks like we need to touch them with our system though, right? That's a lot of red. So as you can see in grades 1 and 2, that is shifting over, which we want to see, of course.
Sorry, you're far away. I got
Worked
you.
once.
Yeah, she told me it wasn't gonna work.
And here's East Side specific. For K1-2, our kindergartners came in with limited skills, as they often do. But it's nice kind of to see, especially in our second grade, those blues and greens growing. Because that's what we're paid to do.
These are norms, right?
They're just the beginning of the year composites. And so I think we have some comparison data of different cohorts, but this does, minus kindergarten, it's a better start to the year for first and second grade. So that's always nice to see. East Side schools, this is not working. Thanks. So we want to make some improvements to our end of year data as compared to last year by using the stuff that we've adopted and that our reading protocol has in it for what we can use to teach. That's been a really great thing that we've done to streamline instruction, because we needed to stop just choosing whatever we wanted to provide instruction. And so now we've made it really explicit to teachers, like this is what you can use when you're teaching this group of students. And so it's been nice to be able to just not have an overwhelming amount of curriculum to choose from. We have a social emotional learning goal with our character strong curriculum adoption. That's been a little tricky because we just were trained like a week ago. And so implementing in the, once the school year has begun is hard. We knew it would be, but our teachers are really motivated to provide that tier 1 SEL instruction because we're in a state of desperation. I think just like societally. And so we have lots of teachers who, since the training, have kind of dove right in and are using it and they think it's great. So that's a nice addition. And then we are going to also try to improve family engagement because that's the trickiest part is getting families involved. And so I've added it to our title plan so that we can enhance those opportunities.
I'm up.
Do you just want this up here?
Sure.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's not the same trend as East Side for us at Madison. Our red is actually surprisingly smaller than East Side's. I think that is a common thought by a lot of people is that the Madison population of students comes to school with a different level of knowledge or experiences. And as a kindergarten teacher, I've had the opportunity to kind of track this over the course of my career, which has been almost 20 years now. And our kids come in pretty much at the same level for the most part. It's give or take by just a tiny bit. I think last year we saw the same trend with East Side kiddos not performing quite as well on the beginning of year assessment and making some really nice gains. With this kindergarten data, I will say that I just pulled up our referral data and we have had 110 referrals written since the beginning of the school year.
Yet.
That's a lot, Michelle. Was that you?
Oh, sorry.
Thinking out loud, Michelle, I know. And so what I will say is that this is really complex, hard work when you have furniture being tipped over in your classroom and you have shelves being cleared out to focus solely on the academic. And so we have to be focusing on the whole child. And as a district, I think we need to be considering systems that we can infuse a therapeutic environment for children. Because until kids are ready to learn, it's really, really hard. One of the positives has been we've seen the majority of our little pirates come into school with school readiness skills. So they're like really ready in their classrooms to absorb all of the information. The trends that we're seeing at Madison we are seeing red shrink and that green and blue grow, but it's not moving at the same rate for a variety of factors. But I am happy about the trend that we are seeing, but we would definitely like to see it quicker. I'm not gonna be able to unlock this. Shrinking of the red, but it's okay. I got it here. You're good. Our goals are similar. We decided, we're gonna talk in a few minutes about the Oregon RTII project and what that means to our district and also what that means to our individual schools. When we talk about Oregon RTII, one of the goals that they said is kind of that 80% being the goal for students to be proficient at. And so our goal will be to get to 80%, but we decided as a site council that we would kind of chunk this out and try to get to 68% this year, being really intentional with looking at what our students need in reading instruction, responding within class instruction, and then also Lillian and her team responding with strategic and intensive interventions. I will say we've worked really hard over the course of the last 3 years to build a super strong intervention program, which is amazing, but we need our core to be effective for more students so that that intervention program doesn't have to serve 80% of our school. So we're going to be working with all of the curriculum options that Kara talked about. And our goal is to get to 68% this year and then 80% the following year, but we're trying to chunk that out. With social emotional learning, we're gonna work to have 15 minutes a day on average using our Character Strong curriculum. Got to see a lesson taught today on kindness. It was very well received by students, and so very excited about the potential impact that will have on learning environments. And then family engagement opportunities will happen at least once a quarter within our school setting. And our site council has been talking about a variety of opportunities for families, game nights, math nights, those types of things where we can feed families and try to get resources in their hands for things that they can be doing at home to support their kiddos. Gary?
Can I ask a I saw on both of these, you all mentioned wanting classroom sets of Just Right decodable readers. Is that just a resource issue?
We've ordered them.
Yeah, we've started building that through our Title I budget.
Yeah.
So we're using our Title I budget to purchase decodable readers because so many of the readers that we had for students were leveled readers. And they're not phonics based. So, you're giving a kindergartner a book with the word turtle or Tyrannosaurus Rex in it, where we really want them using those decoding skills. So we're working to build sets of both types of readers so that they can be appropriately used with kiddos when they fit.
So that's great. I just want to note, so the legislature passed the early literacy grants and we need to fill that application out in December. And we're already so well positioned. We're already doing the work. And it's going to be, probably around 300,000 extra, but we're going to be able to support the work we're already doing. But if there are things we need to expedite that, we can write that into the grant in December. So be thinking, are there other things we need to enhance our early literacy efforts, because we do have this grant. And I've asked Chad if we can come to the K-6 MTSS meeting. I think there's 3 questions we have to answer for the application. And in December, when they finally release the questions, we have a month. It's due the first week in January. It's like really not good timing for this.
Sure.
Like, hey, we get to work over winter break. But so if we can get that done in early December, it's just 3 questions under 250 words. So, but just to give you all a heads up and start thinking at the K2 level, it's 3. So what we want for third, it's K3 grant, what we want to build into that.
Great.
So anyway, I noticed that as a resource. I'm like, oh, we might have the grant opportunity for that.
Can I ask also?
Yeah.
You guys said you didn't want to talk about it, but I thought I had to talk about it. Which is the behavior disruptions in the classroom. So I just wondered, we've had the luxury of a different kind of scenario over the last couple of years. So you said looks like it's this is not just us locally that's experiencing this, this is across the board. And is there any understanding of what it might be or what to do? And I gotta ask, is this the typical few kids in each classroom causing significant disruptions, or is this a larger, is it more than, a lot of times it's usually 2 to 4 kids or something in a classroom that are just making it very difficult to function. Is that similar, or is that this?
It's more than, yeah, and I don't know why. I think that, like what Carly said, is we're meeting the needs of students, like, in terms of discipline. We're meeting them way differently than we used to, right? And we do a lot of collaborative problem solving. We do a lot of, it's the student's choice. How are they going to feel when they make a lot of the decisions, right? And that gives them a lot of power. So, and it takes a whole bunch away from us. And so I think that we've kind of overcorrected a little bit, and yet we still have the same school structure, right? We haven't changed anything about our delivery and instruction and how, what school, classrooms look like. And certainly we have some like flexible seating options and timeout corners and things like that. But we're not meeting their needs. And also, we get thrown whatever we get thrown, and we don't have necessarily the degrees or the education to kind of be those therapeutic people. We can't get school counselors. We don't have people in our building who are equipped to provide what students need. And, just even trying to get people into our building is very difficult. And then the resources we have are limited in capacity, right? Like, yes, you can go do an intake at Coos Health and Wellness, and then you're going to be on a waiting list for a very, very long time. And, we have day treatment as not even really an option. Like, if this child is moving into the foster care system, and the timing's right, then maybe they'll find a spot, right? So it has to be like this perfect storm, which sounds awful. And so and that's the only therapeutic school environment that exists in our area. And, it's like, how many people, is it like an 8-person, right? 8 students?
8, 10, something like that.
And the needs are great, right? We have a lot more kids. So I think it's really just about, like, when Carly's talking about systems, it's resources. How are we thinking and approaching it differently with the resources we do have? What are we building, different alternative settings for our little guys too? Because they don't have it, right? We start that in 7th grade, you get alternative settings in 7th? Ninth. Like what, we talk about least restrictive environment, right, with IEPs, and we don't have other environments. We have the gen ed classroom, we have life skills, we have resource room support, and then we have our SEL programs. We don't have enough space for alternative settings, and what we need are alternative settings, I think.
Space and the staff to support those with the education.
Right.
How to,
Right.
the intense therapeutic.
Plus, they missed 3 years of socialization skills.
Mhm.
And when you start in kindergarten to get those, and some of these kids started in the 3rd grade to get those.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of work to do to make up for those years in which there was very little interaction with other kids, so they didn't know how to do that.
It was feeling like this, though, the year we shut down. Like, the beginning of the school year felt like this.
That's what I was saying.
When they did have all of that in
Right.
place too. It's really, I think it's just, how parents are parenting.
I agree.
And, I'm in that boat, in that camp too, of like, okay, here's a screen, I'm gonna watch, make dinner. And so I think that is probably contributing a little bit, and, I don't know, I think that they're real eager to tell us when we're doing it wrong, or my child never acted like that, or does that at home, never says it really. So.
I think to add on that too, as Karen said, I had a counselor position posted in Millicom, posted for, I think, 9 weeks with 0 applicants. And then we shifted gears and went to a social emotional teacher because we could get an applicant for that position. And there's been some positives and some not so positives with that switch. I mean, we have some more day-to-day support, but at the same time, we have students that need therapeutic counseling that our counselor could provide prior to a referral for Coos Health and Wellness or Waterfall, or one of those support services. And I think the other thing is, what we're doing right now too, is we're trying to provide those supports in 4 different or 5 different buildings if you count the junior high. So we're trying to find 3 to 5 people to cover that, where if we had some sort of alternative program where we just needed to find 1 or 2, we might have a shot. That makes sense. If we needed to find, if we had 1 building to house, we have a better chance of finding the people that we need than if we're trying to find 5 buildings to house. those
So-
people, so.
So separating them?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if that's the right, it's just an idea, I mean, several districts have some sort of program where they house students in one building for those programs, so they provide the supports. I know Corvallis School District has some things that they're pretty well known for, when it comes to K-8 alternative settings. But it's something, I think the thing is we just need to start having a conversation about how we can support our kids, because our job is to put them in the best position to be successful. So I think it's just, those conversations need to start happening, I think.
I appreciate that. I just am talking to some of the teachers, so some of them are, they don't know what else to do. Right, so.
Neither do their principals, you guys.
Yeah.
Neither do we.
So I figured they were coming to you first.
It's really hard, and I think that during COVID, there were a lot of hard things about COVID, but what we saw when we got kids into classrooms of 10 to 12 for 2.5 hours a day, we saw this much behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, again, it's about looking at systems, and the right thing might not be to have alternative ed, classrooms at an alt school, but the right thing might be to have someone like Heidi Luckman come in and do some consultation about what could we be doing in our schools that would be more therapeutic. Like, we need to rethink what the typical school day looks like for some of our friends so that they are set up for success and not failure. And so it's about evaluating our system and being ready to make adjustments to it to meet the needs of all of our students, because right now it's very, very hard.
Do all of the schools have therapists or shared therapists?
No.
Or no? I know too, for just as a parent's perspective too, even if you get your kid into therapy or to have a therapist, I'm taking time off work, they're leaving school, so they're missing in that setting too, and it's a good chunk of time. It is very difficult to navigate when a kiddo has a higher emotional needs or needs that therapeutic, additional therapeutic support. It's a lot to navigate on across the board. Yeah, it's, it would be really neat if there was somewhere where it could even be streamed, like with a therapist, like a kid could go into, and have an online if there wasn't somebody here locally even. Is it that we don't have enough therapists, or is it because of our pay?
Well, no, it's through Coos County Health and Wellness and some of the other outside agencies. They are not able to find people, just like we're not able to find for certain positions.
For example, last year, Floyd and I shared a therapist. She moved away in about April, and they haven't filled that position. They've tried, and a couple years previous to that, Shelley and I shared a therapist, Rama, who's fantastic. Rama's retired, but still working because they can't find anybody to take her position. So, okay, sorry. But they're having a hard time finding those positions to fill.
Yeah.
And she's doing a great job of helping out as she can right now. But
I would say, I think one thing is, typically, I think in some ways, a lot of this is therapy is good and some kids need it, and getting them treatment's great. But a therapist is 1 hour a week potentially at best. And what we're looking at is something that's an ongoing support. I like the idea of looking at this. What is the environment? What are we trying? Because you need both. You need somebody, but therapy isn't a solution to a day-to-day issue, In fact, if you're doing therapy, sometimes you're gonna make it worse for a while, honestly.
Yes.
So, but it's about having supports in place that's gonna help the kid be successful at the moment while you're trying to do the other things around it. So I just think that therapy helps, but it's not gonna be an answer. That's my opinion, it's not gonna be an answer.
It's more about looking at the environment to me, and like how can we structure an environment where kids are feeling safe and then able to build skills to help them become successful, and coming in and sitting down in a classroom doesn't always, fit that need for a population of our students. And so it's an opportunity that we have to really assess how our system is meeting this percentage of students' needs and then make adjustments. So I think we're definitely having those conversations, and, more to come.
Thank you so
And-
much.
The mental health issue in our community, I mean, Waterfall, we have doubled our people in the mental health realm. Okay, we filled up a new building completely. But it's mostly for adults. Getting adolescent and younger therapists is harder than getting the older ones right now.
Starfish Cove does have a wonderful environment. If you've not been able to go and see their indoor and their outdoor play areas, I mean, those would be ideal for, I wish we could have one in every school because, you've got
I
to.
have an extra classroom if we want to,
Well, I think I just did that, I think what I hear is saying is some kids to sit in a traditional classroom,
Right.
traditional things is not a recipe for success, right? So, how do you modify something that will help different youth needs that doesn't fit within our normal process? And how can we afford that as well? I mean, it's not just,
Space and people.
yeah, because you're talking about
Money.
smaller classrooms, potentially more, so I'll be interested to hear discussions and some ideas about that, because I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice.
All right.
Thank you, yeah, for bringing it up.
Let's talk some 3-6 step. As you're reading this chart up here, I want you to keep in mind, these numbers are composed, or these colors, percentages are composed by students taking 2 assessments. They take an oral reading fluency assessment, 1 minute time. It also assesses them for accuracy as they're reading during that 1 minute, so it's how fast they can read and how accurate they are. Then there's also a 3-minute component called a maze, which is a vocabulary comprehension assessment. Students will read a passage, they'll have a drop-down screen, it'll give them 3 choices, they fill in the one that makes the most sense. And that take those assessments, and that's how we come up with the composite score that you guys see in front of you. So you can see at the 3-6 level, I think a positive is, if you look, our red shrinks, as does our yellow, from the time we hit 3rd through 6th grade. Also keep in mind, this is year 2 of us doing these assessments. Go ahead, take on to the next one, if you don't mind. Yep. And you can see our Millicoma scores here. We have some positives here with our scores. Again, the red and yellows are fading downward. We know we need to do a better job for some of our students. We put into place last year a system where our students, for interventions, we push into the classroom, an inclusion model, so we push into the classroom. We also, for our most striving learners, the students that are in the reds, both our special education and our gen ed students that are in the red, we pull them for an additional dose of intervention supports. I think that's helped us get that red number and that yellow number shrinking at a decent rate. But we also know our goal is to be 80 to 85% in the green and blue. So we have a ways to go as a building. Yeah, Kim.
Your 6th grade, that's great.
Our 6th grade is great. Our 5th grade teachers did a great job last year. And one of the benefits of how we did our model last year was with 5th grade, our 3rd and 4th grade did what we call walk to read. So the students take the diagnostic screener. We look at where they fit, not only in the color scheme, but where the DIBELS assessment tells us they need help. What specific area is targeted for them, and then we put them in groups based on that targeted area. 3rd, 4th last year did where they would move wholesale classes around the building to different 3rd and 4th grade teachers. 5th grade decided they would stay in their homerooms, have the push-in supports, and make their groups within their homerooms because they felt like they could handle the behaviors better, they knew the kids better. So it's kind of a model that we used during COVID when we had the cohort and couldn't leave the cohort. And they saw some really positive results. So they're doing that again this year to see if it becomes a 2-year trend. So we're looking and seeing like, okay, when we do it this way, this is our results. When we do it 5th grade way, these are our results. And so we're gonna see how that goes at the end of this year and see if we get that same growth, because then that's something we need to look at as a building.
So you said that these composite scores also include our special education children?
All of our students take these assessments, and they all take them on the same playing field, so we can see how they are, same assessment, no accommodations, all across the board. Also, by having no accommodations, it really tells us the areas that we need to target. We provided them accommodations. Some of those accommodations may help mask some of the areas that need targeted instruction.
So children that are on IEPs do not have any accommodations when they take these?
Not on this assessment. Next slide, David. Title goals look similar to what you'll see from the K2. K2 principals that spoke before me. The one I really want to talk about is the family engagement one. The reason I want to talk about that one is we had a reading data night last week. David joined, Arnie, you joined us last year. David joined us this year. We had 3 families show up. And we put out, I think we did a great job of advertising the event.
Is it maybe the title of it?
I don't know, yeah. But we had 3 families show up. David showed up with 3 teachers that were there. Mr. Guthrie, assistant principal, was there. The positive of it was we had a great conversation, I think. We presented our data, presented how we assess the students, what we use with the assessments, and then provided them some opportunities for what they can do at home to support their learner. We printed out their individual home connects and a little packet that, this is what you can do. But again, it was only 3 families, and I was hoping, we had about 7 last year, so I was like, hey, 10 to 15 would be great. So again, great conversation, but I would have much rather enjoyed that with more people.
I think that needs a little bit of marketing.
We offer daycare, we offer
I know,
pizza,
but
we offer.
it's the title of it, it's very intimidating for, folks, you've got some parents that are reading 3rd grade or hardly at
True.
all.
We could maybe just call it,
Family fun.
Family fun night.
Yeah.
Family fun night, and then present it.
I would have gone.
Yeah.
No, I would have too.
I will say that last year, it was the right population.
It was.
It wasn't the super students, it was the kids that needed parents to know what was going on, so I
Yeah.
appreciated that.
Yeah, and that parents came to us afterwards this year, just like last year, and said, thank you, this was very enlightening for us. It was great, I appreciate now that you've given me a really easy, simple thing to do with my child at home. Within this packet, there are things you can do at home, like reading a recipe, reading the instructions on, an item in the kitchen or the ingredient list, which that might not be the easiest thing to read. So, but there's some good things you can do at home with your child to really support reading. So
I do think, Gary, I went there, and the parking lot's full. So I do think if we could work with Kevin to do the soccer, combine it with the soccer.
I know,
Required.
we could have done a joint soccer data night at the same time. It was true. The parking lot was quite full. So, all right. Michelle, are you going to talk about?
I think Shelley's on.
Or Shelley, are you going to talk about Sunset?
Shelley, what's up?
Yes, I'm going to talk for as much as I can. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm excited about Sunset's composite data as well. Since Gary explained it all, thank you, Gary. I'll have to talk less. But we're seeing growth at every grade level from last year to this year.
Has she been?
No.
She's been out the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second.
Lisa, can you mute?
Yeah, we need to mute you. Okay, Shelley, go ahead.
That's okay. Thank you. So what we're seeing at Sunset is growth from 3rd grade last year to 4th grade this year, 4th grade last year to 5th grade this year, and 5th grade last year to 6th grade this year, with comparing beginning of school year data last year and then end of school year data last year to beginning of school year data this year. So I'm really, really excited to see the growth that we're seeing at Sunset. It's not huge. We're talking about, 10%, maybe 15% growth at each grade level, but it's still growth. We're going in the right direction. So I'm super excited about that. Can we go to the next slide, please? So our school improvement plan was developed based on our needs assessment that we did as a school. So School Site Council and, sorry, let me start over. School Site Council developed our goals collaboratively based on our needs assessment. We did a needs assessment with parents, with teachers, and with students in the spring of last year. Our first goal improvement plan developed collaboratively to support student academic growth and SEL alignment with school's mission and vision. What we did was we kind of put our academic goal and our SEL goal together. What we don't have yet is an amount of growth that we're expecting to see. And that may come as we work on this goal during the school year, but we don't have a percentage, like the other schools had done. The activities that we're going to do to get us there is regular and consistent data review, as an assessment calendar, our interventions are academic and behavioral, and we have reading and math intervention groups. As Gary was talking about his full inclusion model that they began last year, we've just begun that this year. Last year, we were still doing groups that we were pulling out to meet with the interventionists. And this year, we are pushing in as the Millicoma model has been doing. And there are definitely pros and cons to both. But the beauty of it is that the kids that need it are getting that second dose with the push-in model, and then a third dose with being pulled out with the interventionists. In addition to that, for support for this goal, we do still have mama in our building, hopefully at least until through to April, I think, or March. We have our multi-tiered systems that support our SEL committee. Measurement for this goal will be student outcome data. That will include DIBELS, which is what Gary explained earlier, that we were looking at those 3 criteria that gave us our composite scores. Our Character Strong survey and assessments, and our Smarter Balanced assessment, our chronic absenteeism data, and our comprehensive needs assessment. We're looking at all of that to determine how we're doing on that goal. In addition to that, for professional development for the staff, we have Character Strong training, continue to amplify training, iReady professional development, and then CPS training. In addition to that, some of our staff, well, all of our staff has had a small or a Reader's Digest version, if you will, professional development of the reset process. In terms of goal 2, this again, like Gary highlighted, is a really important goal for us. We've created a parent and community engagement committee. In addition to that, we plan to host at least 2 parent and family nights. We're developing a new Coos Watershed partnership, specifically with our 6th grade, and then renewing our partnership with Coos Art Museum to hopefully bring back some more additional art instruction, as we did before when we had the grant. In terms of goal 3, I might be losing it, Michelle. In improving staff to student relationships and increase opportunities for student voice and choice in learning. Michelle, do you mind stepping in?
Where would you like me to pick up, Shelley?
It's goal,
I think
it's just 3, the improved staff and student relationships.
It's painful listening to it.
I know, thank you so much, we appreciate it, and, Michelle, do you have anything to add on that last one, or?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So improving student-staff relationships and preschool. So, a lot of that will stem from our CELI program and working towards helping kiddos find flexibility and choice in what they do in the classrooms, as well as, letting them have a voice. We have our RADS program and our, anchor teams, who are leadership teams in our schools who go through and promote kindness and promote social emotional learning development amongst their peers. They look for kiddos making good choices. They look for their peers, setting forth that model example that we want for others to strive for. And so that is how we improve those staff-student relationships. With Character Strong, a lot of the teachers dove into it even before we had our PD day on October 13th. They were toying around with it, playing with it. So we see more teachers initiating those type tier 1 lessons with their classrooms and having community circles and class meetings to help promote positive relationships between peers and student and staff. And I think that about
Yeah, I think,
sums that up. Yeah.
I loved the RADS program. What does that stand for again?
Random acts,
Of kindness or something?
something like that, random acts. I always forget about the D in the S, but it's random acts of
Doing something.
something.
Something. All right, we're making it up.
But there's a lot of people super excited by that, and they're doing really great stuff out there.
One of the years, I think you had your students come and talk about it with us at the board, and that really left an impression. So I love that program's still going on. Do any of the other schools do that? No. Okay.
I think it was always unique. Sunset.
Yes, it's very.
Can anyone still hear me?
Yes, now you can.
Can you hear us?
It's Random Acts Dolphin Squad.
Dolphin Squad. We were so off. But we
You're
got-
so. I always forget the DNS, and I've asked like 3 times, but you still keep forgetting Dolphin Squad, so.
Well, thank you both. That was wonderful.
David, I think we'll call it, like on there were more slides. We were gonna talk about the Oregon RTII project that we've been accepted into and what that means for kind of, hey, look at this data and what are we gonna do with it? But I feel like this has gone on. I want.
Floyd's been complaining about
Floyd
how
wanted to talk. And so we'll save that if you guys are okay for another time.
Yeah,
And we can come back.
And Kara did a great job in June, describing it to you all.
Yes.
And they've
Yeah,
watched
I
the-
remember how
Yeah,
great it was. You know everything you need to know.
Well, you got called in at the last minute with no backup.
That's right.
Yes. You
Yeah.
did great. All right,
We've made progress.
we've got what, Floyd up then?
Actually, it's 7:12, and Casey's got the bulk of it all, actually.
Oh, really? I think I have the first 5 slides.
First
First thing we need to do is everybody needs to take a minute and just think about the Pirates scoring a goal, because it's 0-0 against North Bend right now. So we need to get a goal, and if we're fast enough, 7-12, we might be able to go down there and just provide the last bit of support that they need to get the win. So I'm gonna stand in for Eli here. He's up supporting our girls team and his daughter, as he should be, and share the data that he put together in the presentation for us. So first off, the numbers that we're gonna talk about with graduation rates and on track to graduate and 5-year completion is from the 2022 graduating class. So 85%, which was up 3% from last year and 4% above the state average. So that's a good thing for us. 5-year completion rate, we're down a little bit, right at about the state average, just slightly below it. 9th grade on track, down 2% from last year and 10% above the state average, which is a great thing. State goal is 95%, so we're almost there, but still exceeding the state average. Regular attendance, which is, kind of a shot to my heart, right? 46%, so well below the state average of 62%. Also know that some of the unique challenges that we had that caused that and our drop of 10%, somewhat is down to not using the virtual code. Last year, we still had the COVID 5 days at the beginning of the school year, and getting people back on the mindset of maybe there's not quite as many exclusionary symptoms as there was a couple of years ago. Not asking you to come to school sick and infect everybody else, but a headache or things where maybe we need the kids to fight through it and be at school. I was hoping Chad would be here so he could help me with some of these achievement standards and stuff, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know 100% what that means, but our ELA assessment growth, 52% met the achievement standard, which is up from 31% last year, so up 21%. And then our math assessment growth, 15% met the standard, which is up 5% from the year before. Obviously, still leaves a lot of room for growth, but both positive. Well, but we had 89% of our students take the state assessments, which is huge because we were at 53% the year before. We did tell kids, like, all right, you're not opting out, come on, because they're calling their parents at the last second to opt out. It's like, go take the test. We want to see the data. And so they did it. We saw a big growth in the number of people taking it, so.
Can you go back 1 second? So, attendance.
Mhm.
That's so sad. Do you think there's anything to do with the busing with that, or was that an issue with transportation?
My honest opinion but from doing a lot of home visits is I think it has a lot to do with the people that we serve. I mean, I took somebody home the other day because they weren't feeling well, and you take them home to a trailer with tarps all over it and 3 people drinking beers and sitting outside in Charleston. And so, I mean, I think that I think that there's some other challenges we have. I'm not a big advocate of the truancy system that was in place. But over the past 5 to 7 years, we've had some things happen. Actually, I met with Arnie 5 years ago for lunch at the coach house, because one huge incentive that we had for kids years ago with attendance for our juniors and seniors was that their license could be suspended other than to drive to and from school. And it was effective, and it was taken off. You can no longer hold somebody accountable for driving for a non-driving offense. And so what it comes down to is that I don't think we have a lot of teeth when it comes to, we need you at school. And I don't know about you guys, but I probably wouldn't stop at every stop sign or drive the speed limit. I don't get tickets very often, but I, for the most part, obey because I want to be safe first and foremost, but second, because I do want to, I don't want to get a ticket. We didn't find people, we never find anybody. We didn't take people to court very often, but the times that we did, it was effective. I have been in contact personally with Judge Bruce via email, and he says that there's no way that he sees the court being able to play a role in school attendance right now. And I don't want to waste anybody's time, So I think we're going to see an improvement this year for sure. We just sent home our first attendance letters last week from the high school. We have 70% regular attenders right now, which is still a concern because we're a month and a half into the school year. But we did make a conscious decision this year, where last year we started at about 82%. Is the number that we sent the letters to the first time. We sent them to anybody under 90%. So anybody who would count as chronically absent got a letter this week. And we have quite a few attendance meetings.
We have our attendance teams, right, with your people that go out and work with the families.
Yeah.
Do we not just have enough of those? Or is I know it's going to be educating and trying to reshape whole generations who have maybe the belief that, school is optional or.
My impression is we're going to see a huge jump this year. It may not be back to where we want to be, but we are seeing kids at school. We're seeing a lot less students gone each day. One thing that we do, because we find the kids disappear at lunch, and so we run an attendance verification 5th period, and anybody who's been missing, who's been at school all morning, and then they're gone 5th period, we call their parents.
Yeah, go get them.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see a big increase, but absolutely, that's an area of growth that personally for me,
Yes.
I'm involved in, and I think there's been some unique challenges, but I anticipate much better numbers at the end of this year. Yeah.
I trust you. You're going to do it.
Summer school was a pretty great success last year. We had 100 students that enrolled, 60 that actually showed up, and 48 who completed credits. Of the 48 who got credits, everybody averaged a little more than 1 credit, which is the equivalent of 2 classes. And so we were able to get students back on track to graduate, which is fantastic. Have 185 seniors, 18 that are credit deficient. Missy Cooper is working regularly with those ones, so we have those students. Our graduation coach focuses, I would say, a lot of her time on seniors and 9th graders. And so she is helping with some credit recovery courses, and those are those credit deficient students, so she can see them daily. We have 20 of those students, 20 students who have already completed 29 courses in credit recovery. So they're making good progress toward graduation. For sophomores on track, and this is where it sometimes gets a little confusing for me to look at the actual state data that says 93% on track and then look at the sophomores that we have on track. Like, we're not just saying, oh man, the state says we're at 93%, that's great, and patting ourselves on the back, because we see we have work to do. So we have 56 students who have less than 6 credits, so that means they failed at least 3 classes over the course of the school year. 20 of those earned 5 or 5.5 credits. And then 12 of those students moved to us from Marshfield, with the lion's share of those coming from Winter Lakes. And I do not mean to put anybody else down, but we do find that oftentimes students who will go there will come back with very, very few credits. It either works great or it doesn't work at all. And so the majority of those 12 are coming to us from Winter Lakes. Some goals for the year. We've implemented the 5 phases of focused note-taking. If you're familiar with Avid, we tried this years ago before I got there, and my interpretation as somebody who just moved in was Avid was something that we said we did, but maybe we didn't. You know, it was something that sounded good, looked good on paper, but really wasn't something that we did. They tried to push out Cornell notes as the focused note-taking, I don't know how many years ago. So it's kind of a re-implementation now. It's something that Eli is pretty passionate about, and we have a good solid group of staff who have attended a lot of Avid professional developments and led a professional development for our staff to start the year. That was I think pretty well received. It was super solid. The focused note-taking process now has the 5 phases of taking notes, processing, connecting it to your learning, and then summarizing, reflecting, and then wrapping back to the notes, where I think before we just took the notes to take the notes and whatever. I also think that Avid has kind of rebranded the focused note-taking in such a way that maybe a CTE teacher, maybe in Metals or Woods, their plans are the focused note-taking process. So it's a lot more adaptable than it was when it was just like, hey, we do Cornell notes and that's what they are, so do Cornell notes. And you got a PE teacher or a CTE teacher saying, what? So I think that we're seeing some success in that, especially with the staff leadership on the professional development. We have some good buy-in, and it's going to be a process and take time, but I think we'll continue to see more buy-in with that. The proficiency grading and our grading practices. A couple of years ago, Eli put out a survey to the staff that basically said, do we want to continue on with proficiency-based grading, or do we want to go back to standard percentage-based? And proficiency did win the vote, and Chad has gone out this year and with the junior high and high school brought in a company that specializes in proficiency-based grading, and they've been coming in to help us out. I don't have a ton of information on them, but it's something where they met with each department from the middle school and high school and kind of went over their practices, and I think they'll fine-tune them as the year goes on. Talked about, regular attenders, and again, that's something we're working on. I think one thing that's important to note is that last year we did have a lot of our chronically absent students fell into that 80 to 89% range. And so maybe we really focused a lot of our attention on kids that were there 50, 60% of the time. And it's a decision you have to make. Like, what's more important, like helping this person who's here at 85 and maybe we miss them because they're passing all their classes, or somebody who's got 5 Fs and is off track to graduate. We are really working hard on attendance. I can say that for sure from my own perspective. One of our goals is to improve the structure of PAT, which is our advisory, and utilize our college and career readiness curriculum and SEL curriculum. So Character Strong, this is the first year we've used it at the high school. Our goal is to get through 20 lessons throughout the year. And then Naviance is kind of, kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It's our college and career readiness program. It's something that we're required to have. And it also helps us structure PAT. So what we do in our advisory period is Mondays is either a Character Strong lesson or a Naviance lesson. So the kids come in, they work through that. Tuesdays are our grade checks. We've adjusted our grade checks this year, where it used to just be done primarily in PAT only. You'd go in, check your grades. This year, our goal is that they'll do a grade check on Monday in each of their classes, so that, if David's my teacher and I have an F in David's class, I can say, hey, Mr. Kegley, like, what's going on? What can I do? We can talk for, a couple seconds, get it on there. And then our PAT teacher is just checking that they did the grade check, as opposed to actually trying to guess what they need to do in another class. And then Wednesday through Friday, this has been met with some people think it's pretty interesting, but it's something we learned about from other schools are doing on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, if you're passing all your classes with a C or higher, you get a long lunch. You go to PAT, you watch the announcements, you check in, you get your attendance. PAT's only 23 minutes long, so you're there for 7-8 minutes, and then you're able to go. It's been met with mixed reviews. Some people really like it. They think it's a good incentive for the kids. Other people think like, oh, it's just going to be a free for all. I think it's too early to tell, but Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the students have the ability to move to a class that they need help in, or a class they just enjoy if they're passing all their classes. So if I missed a math test on Monday, I can make it up on Thursday in advisory and not have to come in on my own time. It's good for the teacher. It's good for the student. If I need extra help in a subject, that's the time I would sign up and go. So I think that's it for me. Any questions?
I have like overall questions, not just for you, but I've seen everybody kind of had family engagement as like goals and interacting with families. And so when I first came into this position, we had a wonderful guest speaker, and one of the things that he had brought up is that this is how we're going to reach people and this is how we're going to make movement is with family engagement. I would just love to hear people's thoughts and ideas, and not necessarily now, but like sometimes with family engagement, it's the same families. The families that are going to show up, they're going to show up. Those are same 10 families, same 5 families, who's going to be there. So I just would love for us to be able to look at building relationships with parents or family members who don't have a good relationship with education. They didn't have a positive experience, whether it was this school district or another school district. And so that is extended then to their kiddos. And so I'm not saying the same parents shouldn't show up, but if we can find ways, and I'm sure this is things, you guys are so smart, you've thought about this 1,000 times, but how do we get those families through the door? How do we talk to those people who are struggling with keeping their home warm and dry and food, and education is not even, surviving is the first thing.
And we have great resources for that with the ARC program. It's just a matter of connecting people with the right resources and being persistent. I mean,
Carly, I saw your hand up, not to.
No, I would just say that I think, again, it goes back to systems and what we define as family engagement. Because to me, family engagement is also the 6 parents that I've been text messaging tonight about how to support their kiddo, or so really family engagement doesn't just look like you showed up at a night at school. And sometimes it looks like us going to families' homes and taking them the resources that they need. If the school environment isn't a trusted space for them, then that's outside of the box, right? And our family or our attendance advocates, I prefer to call them family advocates just because sometimes attendance advocate feels like, yeah, like they're in trouble. And so really, Bree's really great at the K2 level of really labeling herself as a family advocate and trying to connect families with resources. What are your barriers? How can we best support you? And so I think if we're only going to measure family engagement as who shows up at a data night or who shows up at conferences, then we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Because I would say all parents in general want their kids to do well. And things are hard. We serve a wide variety of students and families, and there are a lot of things that we do not have control over. And so what are the things that we do have control over? And yes, we have resources, but there's also barriers with the ARC, right? People have to be able to get to the ARC to access those resources. One of the things we've been able to do at Madison is partner with DHS and have a support person come in 2 days a week, and families are able to come to the school, and we're helping them to fill out TANF applications and make sure that we can support their needs. If the home is healthy, then the children are usually healthy. And so how can we wrap our arms around the whole family? But I just think that there's opportunities for us to think outside of like families just coming to events, but going to families.
I love that. I love that you said home visits.
Well, and I think that that's one thing that actually our district is set up to do fairly well, because in my previous district, where I didn't serve in the same role, but I know for sure that each school didn't have a vehicle. And we have a vehicle, and maybe what its original intent wasn't exactly for home visits, but there's a vehicle out to school, and we do a lot of home visits where we knock on people's door and say, how can we help you? Well, hey, we noticed your son's not at school, your daughter's not at school, what do you need? And I mean, it's not always super well received, even though it's positive.
Sure.
But we do a lot of that.
Come in and sit on the floor with them, get underneath that tarp. Maybe not crack open a beer, but talk to them.
Not yet, anyway.
But I know you are working really hard on that, and I appreciate the work that you've done there.
All right.
Phone calls, I love it.
Thank you.
Well, I'll be pretty short. The agenda came out and they asked for Dibbles, which I didn't know what that was. I know Rob Dibble, who used to pitch for the Cincinnati Reds. And then the other one was. Yeah, I forgot. The Title I, and we're not a Title I school, so we'll be really quick. So a couple goals, and then share some little data here on attendance. A lot of things that they said I could repeat for the junior high level, starting with behavior, the first thing that Kara kicked off with. We didn't have much of a honeymoon phase at the junior high, just like the rest of them. It came in pretty hot and pretty heavy early and often with some of our high flyers. And I'll just add that, we have talked to Kayla about, and Karis knows this too, about the need for an alternative setting. And I've seen it too, where some of our kids that just really struggle, we put them in a small room with just a couple people, and I've been in there just with 2 or 3 of them, and how much of a difference that makes for them to get removed from that large group. And it's just night and day, the way that we can connect with them, the way they're not distracted as much. And I think they'll come to school a little bit more too, if we can get that going in the future. So we have 3 goals at the junior high. Number 1 is attendance, which is very similar to everybody else. Number 2 is adopting essentially the AVID strategies too. We have officially become an AVID school. We kind of cheated last year. We used the AVID teacher for a study skills class, and essentially we're doing AVID in the tutoring study hall, but this year we now are completely an AVID school. When we started the school year, Kyle Hardall, who's our assistant principal, did a presentation to our staff, little PD. Same thing as the high school. We're the high school's little brother, little sister, and we did the note-taking strategies. And just like, the high school struggled with I think I can say this, Casey, is that he's right. They just did the note-taking, but they never really realized how to go back and review the notes and use the notes for the next level. And I know they've gotten better with that, and we're gonna, that's our plan as well. And I'm seeing a lot of the surface level with the strategies, but we're not quite to the deeper knowledge of that stuff yet either. But as well as that, we're working on the planners. We now have every student using planners, and you can see a huge difference in that. Where a year ago we talked about planners, but I don't think we really did them. Now it's very common for us to go into the classroom and we can hear the teachers say, everybody take a planner, just get organized. And we use it for multiple purposes, and it's been really good growth for us. And the last one, Diane, again, we talked about the relationship with students, parents, and community stakeholders. We started the year last spring. We did a family trivia night, and again, who shows up were the same families. But when I showed up, it was also awesome to see families that I did not expect to be there at all, and it was really fun. And we had a good turnout. I don't think anybody was there. No. Only problem was our person that picked this questions made them like Ken Jennings worthy questions. So I showed up thinking, I'm an educated guy. I'm gonna rock this thing. And I had no idea what was going on. So I'm sure everybody else was pretty good at it, but I struggled with it. But I got some Domino's pizza out of it, so that was good. We started the school year with Dr. Mike Herbert, who's the SWAC athletic director, coming in and doing a presentation of how to help your student athlete. And he did a great job. And I didn't know what to expect. Dan, you were there, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mike does a really good job with this. And we had a nice turnout. The gym was, I don't know how many people we had there, but there was a lot of people. He has a great message. And I considered it a win for our first chance of community engagement with our parents. We have some teachers that have made some personal goals in their department to have some math night, to bring back the trivia night. And then, of course, just any kind of other things we can do. I think it's fair to say that a lot of you will know that activities and athletics are the front porch of your school, right? So we have huge involvement with our athletes right now. We had 105 fall athletes. We have 4 volleyball teams. And you know that when we have that much participation, we get families into the school. So that's one way to get them in the doors. And then when we see a brand new school is great. Our fine arts program, we now have 2 choirs, whereas last year we only had a 7th and 8th. We now have a 7th grade choir, an 8th grade choir. Our band numbers are up. So again, one more way through academics and extracurriculars and co-curriculars to get families into the school. So super pumped up about the fine arts, starting to pick back up again. Both teachers are doing a good job with that. All right, Mr. Kegley, there we go. So attendance, dismal. 57% was our regular attenders for last year, but that was up 6%. Of course, we were all, though, dealing with COVID at the time. Oregon average is 62. This is just a snapshot. It doesn't really tell you a whole heck of a lot, but as of through 7 weeks, we have 65%. The thing about that is, I think we had about 30 students that were at 89.3%, which basically means a half-day excused absence at this point would have made a significant difference in that percentage. So it doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. Like Casey, I'm pretty dedicated to getting kids back into school and being more aggressive. I think we were, now when I say that, I don't mean to be super aggressive when we're going to these homes, dragging them out of their houses, but making more phone calls, making more home visits than we've done in the past, because we know they're there. And again, when you talk about families, we know that that cycle is hard to break. And when we have those meetings with those families, one of the first questions we ask them is, tell us about what your experience was like in school. And oftentimes they're going to tell us that it wasn't awesome. I didn't go to school, I dropped out, I did this, I did that. And obviously that's going on to their kids. So we've got to work hard to create those relationships. And most of the time they're pretty successful. We get a few people that are a little fired up about showing up at their houses, stealing their beer, but besides that, it's been pretty good. The other thing is steps for success is we have a school-wide tier process, which we really didn't share with the staff before, but we really emphasized that, the tier 1, the tier 2, the tier 3. Tier 1 is basically just tell them, hey, when we see a kid showing back up, tell them how much you appreciate seeing them. Simple like that. Those are universal supports. And then of course the tier 3 is where we go to talk to Judge Pruis and see what we can do to make this better. For me, it's difficult that we still have a compulsory education system, but there's no compulsory there. So it doesn't really make sense when we don't have any teeth, and that's kind of hard to take. So at some point, we need to lose that word because we're being hypocritical about things. And then we have a district-wide strategic planning group that Casey's actually the head of, that he's been doing a good job getting that group going to make, again, attendance an important piece of things. And that's me for junior high. Any questions?
Oh, great job.
Okay, great, thank you.
I want to give a compliment. Can I give a compliment? My daughter came home from one of the assemblies. I just want you to know. And if you guys know me, I love special education. And there was a kiddo who got Student of the Month for responsibility. And she came home and told me the story and how excited he was. So let that teacher know it's impactful and it's meaningful. And hopefully every time a special ed kid gets an award, I don't have to talk about it. But for now, I will. So thank you to whoever the teacher was that nominated that kiddo.
It was a pretty special moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God,
pretty
I was
special
like,
moment.
I'm
I think
kind of
as I
crying.
looked at him in the audience, I think me included, at first I thought maybe he was having a panic attack. Because there was a lot of noise, but he stands up and he takes his jacket off and he takes his jacket off and he's going like this and the student body is erupted. And
Yeah.
I look in there and there's teachers with tears in their eyes and there's kids with tears in their eyes and this guy's kind of like just walking away. Just don't let anybody see me. Yeah, but it was pretty dang awesome.
Oh,
So
yeah.
thanks for mentioning that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I also got that story from my daughter who was at that assembly.
Yeah. So another community, we get the parents in, they see those kind of things, so good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
That's great.
Yeah, it was. When she put me on it.
So this will be pretty quick, I think. So destinations, our first goal this year is to implement reading curriculum. We purchased it, we're getting trained, and I have a staff member who will be fully trained for these intervention, tier 2 and tier 3. I think it's really, really important as you're looking at graduation rates and why students don't necessarily do well in a comprehensive high school sometimes. Literacy is a huge portion of that. And so we really want to hit literacy hard this year. Goal number 2 is kind of a little, probably seems a little ambitious when you look at our 2022 rates, which were 29%. But I'm really excited to see what our rate is when it is released in January for last year, because we had a significant number of students finish and graduate. This year, students have already completed 35 classes, and they still have 10 days left in our quarter. So I'm pretty proud of them. We also were able to reach out to students who had dropped out last year. Namely, I have 2 students who walked out in fall of last year and walked back in our building and are now working towards their diploma. So I'm super excited for them. Our regular attenders last year, about 4%. So we're looking for an increase, maybe. And I actually, with the group of boys that I have right now, they're always at school, so I should be pretty good. That also leads to behavior issues, but they're getting better. And then our goal number 4 is to really implement our tier 1 SEL curriculum, which again is Character Strong. You guys have heard about it already tonight. We have in our schedule a time that we call flex time, which originally was for multiple interventions, so the students could go through the different interventions that they need. At this point in time, though, we're using that for tier 1 intervention for social emotional learning. It's about 25 minutes a day, and it varies by teacher, but I have a teacher that I think is up to less than 20 already, and the kids are loving having those interactions with their teachers and getting to know them better. And the teachers are, nothing but praise for this program. So that's kind of where we're at this point for destinations. We're working really hard to get these kids graduated and make sure that they feel successful and are successful. So, any questions?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that's great.
awesome.
Thank you.
You know, one thing that I will mention after she went is that one area where we will have attendance hurdles this year is the fact that Destinations has the cap. And it's something that we have talked about, but we just don't have the space. And right now we're in the position where I would say about 3 to 4 weeks in is usually where we start to see like an exit to the alternative programs, which is great for them to go, for a student to go find a program that meets their needs better than the traditional high school. But this year we've seen a much larger exit to like AYA because they have room and we don't. So hopefully next year, once we get back into a more traditional space, we'll be able to have our program flourish.
What's our cap?
Our, it was 40, I had 50, and I had 5 on the wait list. So, and multiple other students who have chosen to go online, Resource Link or AYA, because they can't wait to go into, they can't wait to come to Destinations.
And without just having like numbers right in front of me, I would say like in the very first year I was here, which is like the one like real traditional year, we've had like, I think Destinations started around that 40, 50 number and then ballooned up to 100 and then back down to like, you know, kind of settled into like 75, something like that. So we're going to have a group of kids where
They fall
we have a
through.
gap.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information. And is that last of our data review? Thank you all so much. This has been so insightful, and I know you guys are just, 7, 8 weeks into the school year, and just presenting all of this to us. It was so insightful, and you're doing a fantastic job. You guys know your students.
It feels so good. Every day, it's like, I'm a winner.
I hope you say that. Even when the kids are.
That was not a discussion I had with her on the way in. That was that way.
That's how it is.
You gotta get in your car, look through that little mirror. You got this.
Thanks for your good thoughts
Yeah,
though.
thank
Pirates
you.
are up 1-0. So.
Oh.
Hey, good job, everybody. I don't know, it's gotta be about over. Choir concert Thursday, 7.
All right, thank you
See you guys
everyone,
later.
take care. Thank you Shelley online, if you're still there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yes.
Thanks for having us, you guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you, board. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Bye Shelley.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so our last item is board items. And we have review budget committee applications. And so, yes.
3 great
I know,
candidates? What the heck?
I know, this is the thing, is I was just thinking about this because it's not typically one that people are fighting over getting in. And we talked about before that we don't have a cap on how many people are on it.
Well,
Well, oh, David's got some words.
We do.
well, we can address it in a policy committee, but it does say it will be a committee of 7.
Oh, does it? So how many do we have?
Well, we'll have 7 when we choose one.
We have
Oh.
2 already, right? 2 other outside. How many can we?
How many applications?
We have 3.
3 applications, we've got one.
One opening.
1 open.
Oh,
Yep.
There's 7 though. I can't remember who else is.
that doesn't make us, we can't have anybody else then, because we have to have one by law, right? By our requirement for,
We do in 2025.
well, I did not know that.
So, one thing we could do is, what you could do is you guys could discuss the candidates that you have here, or the applicants, and then determine who you would like to nominate for the committee, or appoint, I suppose is a better word. And then we could reach out to the others and see if they're interested in working as alternates, because in the 2 years that I've been with the budget committee, there has often been people who don't attend a single meeting.
Right.
For whatever reason, but those things come up, so see if they want to serve as alternates on the committee.
Is there a way that we can amend our policy? The policy committee go back and talk about maybe we could have 8 and then one alternate or something? Or is it pretty standard, you have 7
Board
That's-
members.
Yeah, I would think, Kim, the other thing is, a lot of times we struggle to get it though. So if we up the numbers, we could be more.
Well, no, I'm saying up to 7, up to 8, because that's the problem,
No,
is
you
we
just say,
usually
you
don't.
just say a minimum of 6 and a maximum of 10. And then,
That's what I'm talking
Uh-huh.
about, right there.
Well, yeah, or just, yeah, well, it'll depend, I don't know what's legally required, so I'll talk to OSBA
Yeah, I
and
would
see
say
what
that,
they're-
and then compare it to like North Bend, do they have just 7, and what does their policy say?
Okay.
I'll have to look it up, but I think the statute is it needs to be equally balanced between board members and community representatives. I
That's
think
they
it's
come back
7.
together in the final.
I need to look that up.
To
It's in the
community-
back of my brain when I read that, the statute about budget committee, because it's actually in ORS. But I'm rusty, so we'll
So
look it up. But my memory is you have to have the same amount of community members as you do board members. So since we have a 7-person board, you have to have 7 budget
Well,
committee.
then that would make it.
Because we do all come together as one budget committee at the end.
Yeah, to vote.
I mean, all these people look outstanding. I mean,
There's only one that meets the requirement that we need to have.
But we don't
one
need that
person
until 2025,
Yeah, next fall we'll need it.
but that's hard.
what is the requirement?
That are from our,
Oh, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
diversification committee needs to serve on our budget committee. So if we didn't choose the one that was gonna serve on there and that time got filled up and then we need somebody else, we don't know if, I mean,
We don't
that's,
even know if we have an opening.
right. So
One
how,
of these people is my boss, so I should probably not.
yeah.
But like,
I'm like,
I mean, that's a wonderful individual and.
Just make sure you vote.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, good for you.
We will
And you can be his
have,
boss.
So when do we have to have this filled by? Does it have to be filled tonight?
no, so what I had thought we would do tonight was discuss, and then the board would make their appointment at the regular board meeting.
Okay. Will you read that to us?
Yeah, I looked that up. It's ORS 294.414. The budget committee shall consist of the members of the governing body, the school board, and a number equal to the number of the members of the governing body of electors of the municipal corporation appointed by the governing body.
So 7.
Okay,
Um,
7 and 7.
Yeah, so I did remember that.
Good job. All right, so,
Good one, never heard that one before.
no.
So that state law says that we need to have an even number of people on the committee?
It says we have to have the same number as we have board members.
Equal to, not even, but equal to, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have 7 board members, you have to have 7
Yeah. Well,
community
think
members.
about even number, like 6.
And if you.
Always gonna have an even number, though. I've never heard of a committee where you don't have an odd number just for voting.
Well, you can look at the state legislature.
Yeah, there you go.
We have 30
Yeah,
and 60, so.
And we will have another vacancy, or a term expires, this year, or 2024, 6/30
Oh,
of
okay. So
2024.
we would,
So whether they want to continue to serve or not, that's a question for them. And then we'll have 2 in June of 2025. So there will be opportunities.
And clearly having alternative, and having alternates is okay. It doesn't say anything about that, so.
Yeah.
I think that, I look at these 3 and I think, whoa, each one brings a different kind of perspective. One has more kids in our school district than, most, as relatives. One has almost top secret clearance. And one meets all the requirements we need to have our
Right.
diversity goal met. So it's kind of interesting. I would say any one of them would be great.
budget, no, she's, what does she do right now? She's,
At the ESD,
She's the director of HR
yeah. That's on the letter here.
and her,
yeah, I remember that. I read it.
And has a
yesterday.
child.
yeah, her daughter's a teacher in the district.
All right, so we want to talk these over and then vote in our next meeting. Does that sound?
And if you'd like, you could invite them if you want to ask some questions or anything. It's up to you.
Remember doing that before?
I
That
know.
way, look him in the face and say no.
I know.
It can be a little awkward.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, you don't have
I
to.
understand.
I like the idea of having one and then doing the two alternates. Would they still be able to attend the meetings? as
Yeah.
Yeah,
alternates?
it's a public meeting.
Well, there you go.
They just wouldn't vote unless someone was absent.
Right, there you go.
And
Unless-
then if somebody
Left.
left, then we'd have a replacement.
Well,
Exactly, and we have-
One of the two. we-
And, yeah, and we have someone coming off, this year
Theoretically.
and then 2 years, right?
And
Their term
as I look at
expires.
the name, if I recall correctly, I don't think she's going anywhere as long as you'll have her.
Okay, so wait a minute. This is an alternate for the community person, right? You,
Yes,
Right.
okay.
And your position.
and mine. Oh, wait, I guess Kevin's that one.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So do we feel comfortable with any questions on any of these?
I was impressed with all three.
I was-
Yeah, no, I was like, wow. Can we borrow them for something else?
Are you
Yeah.
gonna make them come in and present to us like I had to?
You were the one that did that.
I was gonna say, did
remember
you
that.
present?
I do, I remember that.
It's been gone.
I think it would be a good idea. That way we,
It didn't work out for us last time.
You're too much, I love you. He's on a roll.
Marty, you could say it worked out very well.
I guess it could have worked out very well. Some people don't stay in positions very long enough.
That's right.
Okay, so,
We can invite them to come in. That would tell us who's really interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
if it works for their schedule, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be,
Yeah.
but,
And they could, virtual meeting in.
sure.
Yeah.
Option.
All right,
I will ask them to attend.
okay, perfect.
Either in person or online, either one.
Okay.
Do we have future agenda items?
I did have something, and we might even just have a short discussion about it now. Last Wednesday, we got an email about a K-6 calendar revision.
Yes, we did.
And I was, every time there's a change to the calendar, it always shows up in front of the board so that we vote on it. And I don't know if that
And it
was
didn't come
just
from
kind of
them?
an oversight. Yeah, that came from our HR assistant. And that was, the change was to make
Yes.
Wednesday, November 15th as an early release day for K-6 schools only. So I guess it might be better to address that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring that to the next board meeting.
Because our
Well,
next board meeting is November, it's gonna be right before.
Right.
13th.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need to talk about it tonight, right?
Can you amend the agenda like that?
Yeah, well, it's under.
Board, we could do it.
Yeah, I guess we can add it to
Yeah,
the
we
agenda.
can
Okay.
if enough people agree to add it to the agenda.
All right,
Because we usually always do vote on those, that's true.
We do.
all right, so do we want to add the calendar revision to our agenda? Do we have a motion to do that?
I'll move that we add an agenda item for possible calendar revision.
Thank you, Adrian.
For a calendar, not a possible, if we're gonna have it.
Well, it depends on what we vote.
That's true.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Diane. Any discussion on that?
It made sense why they wanted to do it.
Mhm.
I don't see any reason not to do it, so.
It's all about protocol.
I agree.
All right, so, no more discussion.
Save us one day.
Let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
So did we
everyone.
vote on a possible or did we?
No, we voted on just adding it, so
Adding it to our
now,
agenda.
now we need to vote on it. So now, do we have a,
I'll move that we accept the revision to our calendar.
perfect, thank you, Arnie. Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Ooh, oh, okay, Addie, you were louder. So, we'll take you. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that?
So I was curious, so this, says that the calendar was revised to include Wednesday as an early release day. Friday is an early release day for K-6. How does Thursday work out for that as well? I don't know what the situation is for that. And I apologize for the late notice. I was clearing out all of my email inbox before the meeting, and I was like, hey, this is something that I remember seeing briefly.
No, it's good.
That's good. I didn't pick up on it too.
I didn't either. I was like, oh, that sounds reasonable. All right. But that's.
I'm still, if you, I can answer that question, Adrian, for you if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
The calendar had Thursday and Friday listed as early release days originally for parent conferences. And then it was realized that it should have read Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as early release, and Friday would be maintained as PLT prep time. So Thursday was always slated to be an early release. So it was just listed incorrectly that Friday was going to be conferences when in fact Friday is not going to be used for conferences.
But Wednesday is, yeah.
Right. We just talked about this at the site council meeting last Monday.
So
Now
we
that's-
aren't really revising the calendar.
Well, we didn't
I
have
do-
it.
Oh, we didn't have it on the calendar.
It was
Okay,
supposed
that makes
So
sense
it's a
now.
small revision on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might just.
But it didn't impact instructional minutes at all, which is, I think, why it didn't go to the board for review, is because it didn't impact instructional minutes or release time or any benefited leave time or adjustment to the calendar.
And the buses were already regular on that. Buses.
Yeah, it was, yes.
So maybe let's look at that and see what is the board's role. Do we,
So we can make this vote.
well, yeah, but I'm saying in the future, I mean, whoever is doing that, they would probably want to know, is this the process we follow? If it doesn't affect any of those things, is it our role to bring that in front of us or have that brought?
Because that's a good question. Do we have to approve any calendar changes or only if it has impact on instructional minutes or other
Right.
things? Yeah.
So if you guys could find out for us, we gonna vote on, or we already did vote on it, so that motion.
No,
We haven't yet.
we just voted to the
Call the
agenda.
question.
Oh, I said, oh, okay,
It's been seconded.
okay. Any discussion? We discussed, Adrian discussed. Are there any other things to note about this?
No.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, well, it's done, so whether we've got to do it, it's already done, thank you. And so we'll see in our next meetings if there's anything that we need to follow up on that. What about other future agenda items? No? All right, let's get out of here. Thank you, everyone, meeting adjourned.
Bye.
I will be on vacation during our next regular board.
Where are you going? Can we ask that?
South Carolina, Savannah, going to Charleston.
Oh,